Hello and welcome, Crow fam. Hope you're all well. Good morning, good evening, good night, I suppose, wherever you are. Just wanted to check in on the MMF chart after last night's action. Try and get something done daily here too, so we'll keep up with it. Not exactly sure, can't find a specific news event that caused everything. The launchpad for the Cronos FC is still a day away. So jumping through the Discord was nothing specific, and you don't want to be the one creating the FUD to call out exactly what it is. But we can see here that very strangely, we made a move all the way back down to 78 cent prior lows from at least what 10th of March. And I suppose this is part of the meteoric rise I was talking about yesterday. Saying myself was expecting a cool off, expecting a turnaround in our MACD here, and you can see it happened very quickly. I suppose it's part of the massive volume that we've had over the last month and the run up, the big huge pop up to a dollar and a billion in TVL that we had. And then I would guess some selling of profits right around here. So let's get really zoomed in on what happened. So we're looking at a 4 hour chart, kind of the better time frame to see everything generally and the recovery. You can see over the course of 8 hours alone, what did we have? A 36% move downwards, just over 8 hours. And I presume we're seeing some profit taking at the top that maybe leads to a cascade, at least without using the news. That's probably that's the statistical way to look at it. Let's say that's the layman's terms. You can see the volume here is just ridiculous. It's crazy. I suppose we're really seeing now that we have some big players stepping in. And what I want to do is look at the chart or look at the trades here specifically over the last 24 hours. If we can scroll back. And we're going to filter them from $10,000 above. That's a really good way for yourself if you're using it even on mobile to kind of have a gauge of what the big players are doing. And now that we do really have them here, if you do this filter on other tokens just out of interest for yourself, you'll see that the buys and sells aren't as fleshed out at all. There isn't half as many of them. So as you scroll down, literally you'll move back in dates by days probably. Whereas here on MMF, you can see that we're still only going back through March the 18th this morning. Buys and sells of 10,000 above or above. So that's really indicating some serious trading and some really massive volume moving here. What have we got in the last 24 hours at $47 million in volume? So it's a very serious player now in the game, and I presume what we're seeing is major profit taking, some pretty big ETH maxis, and the news maybe of their partnership that's upcoming and stuff. Get onto their Medium if you haven't already, or check out the Twitter. There's an article and announcements in the Discord about everything. But if we go back here, what are we looking at? So this is last night for me. Let's say this is all UTC that you're looking at, and this is about 2:30 in the morning, which is right in the middle of or after the huge sell-off that we saw. I suppose in the US that would have been in the evening sometime. Mostly they would have been at the end of their Thursday, let's say. And if we look here, you can see that there is some major action, even buys of like 276k, which if we bring back up the chart, I presume is the kind of action that caused us to bounce right back up off this 78 cent mark in only 4 hours, all the way back up to the $1.109. And that seemed very easy for it because presumably this was all panicking back down to the dollar. Who knows what kind of, whether we have diamond or paper hands coming up into this mark, moving into the dollar mark, but certainly obviously a lot of panic then, dropping it right back down over the course of the 8 hours, but right back up again. So you can see that this candle here starts at midnight. So if we go down to the 1 hour and get into more detail, you can see that it was literally over the course of 3. So from 11 o'clock, midnight, 1 o'clock, we had most of that huge percentage move there. And if we jump down into the 15-minute again, it gets interesting because Once we blow this up, it kind of becomes obvious. Try and zoom out again so we have some context. Once we blow this up, it kind of becomes obvious what happened. There was clearly a lot of selling, and I suppose panic selling involved too on the part of the smaller holders in the population, but also buying the dip. Also a lot of like, look, it's at $1, let's buy in. And then we managed to make it all the way back down to 76 cents. And as I say, if we look at the times of the buys and sells back then, it's going to be hard to bring it up again. If we look at the times of the buys and sells back then, huge amount of volume. There was one I saw for 300 and something K a sell, right at the top of that incident there, that event. So it's this is all of it around 3 a.m. This is where all the action is coming from. You can see there a buy of 100K, a buy of 218K. Those are the kind of things that cause us to move back up off the 78 cents. And then all of this over 10 grand again. So we're not getting all of the volume, but you can see large profit taking here, 85K. And again, huge amount of buys during and before the actual incident. So look at this, 284K there again buy. So we've got some serious, really serious action going on. So I suppose I should have logged the transaction, kept that, and noted where it was. But you can see 281K sell here at 1:38 a.m. during the event. Everybody taking profits. Some of them might have been looking at half of their money. There we go, 247K sell right at the top of the event. And if we go all the way back, somewhere around here, you can see where it all began, where the selling started. And I think really for a lot of people, if you're in there for a small amount, I don't think there's much need to panic, because obviously we've seen some really strong support. The platform is so new and young. Things like this are bound to happen. The volatility is always involved, but we should be seeing strong recovery. You can see here we're already back to 109 and have already in that time been down to the 94 cent range. You can see all of the action playing out kind of properly here on the 15-minute. So if we go back out to the 4-hour, it looks kind of crazy, and even on the daily it'll look even weirder. This would be like a very strange spike on the map as the chart moves and grows. You can see how young we still are, really looking at this, so young. So no surprise, but that range, that 79 range, seemed to be a very strong support zone, because you can see we've had all of that price action over the 2 months or so before this. So it had made a rise there, and there've been lots of in and outs the entire time. So the $1 mark seems to be a strong support. I would expect now that we'll have another cool off. We might be kind of ranging within that 90 cent and up to 110 even. We're so volatile, 120. And I would expect at least that we definitely have strong support around that 75 cents mark. Definitely strong support there. So I'll take a quick look. I want to record one or two of these as well. So let's start that now. And we'll have a look at Savannah too. Suffered the same. Savannah token, its own yield farming token. You can have a look at the website. Make sure you're on the right URLs. I would go to mm.finance, Madmere Cat first. You can click on their launch pads there. I think it's still listed in there, but certainly make sure you're following the right link. Go to the right places first. You can see that it suffered this dip as well, but has some strong support. Again, I don't know why my chart has been so reset. So I'll try and zoom in here. And yeah, so you can see that it has some strong support still here down at that 150 even. That's even better than I thought it was, for 148. And we've settled back here now up at about 170. So we can see some probably continued downside. I didn't have my MACD added to this because we were so fresh adding it to these sets of charts. But you can see the MACD is pretty much really suffered there. It's going to have to do a lot to turn back to the upside. So Probably continued kind of settling, and I suppose we can hope for a support range at about 150 at the lowest. We'll probably have to make it towards there first, and then we might start moving back up. Again, it's a reward token on the platform. If you want to do, you should do your own research. It's definitely not financial advice. But look into the white paper, because I would expect this to continue to have, strong buy and sell pressure, because it is a reward token. It gets redeemed and that for other things in the platform. So, but another one that suffered that massive sell off. I'm wondering, is it people buying into the launchpad, but that should involve buying up of these tokens. So I'm not exactly sure again what particular news event has caused this. MSHARE didn't seem to suffer so hugely again. It came right back up off of that. Loads of profit taking off this event, went down to 7,800, but we're already back at 12.5. And you can see they've all followed roughly the same pattern. So it must have been a lot of big sells from a lot of big players, and then obviously people see smaller holders seeing the numbers go down over the course of evenings and time zones and everything, and then slowly, gradually, it's selling off and getting bought back up all the way. So hopefully you weren't one to panic if you are a small holder during this, because likelihood is we're just going to be ranging again in between these numbers here, on MShare as well. MMO seemed to be the only one that didn't suffer the pillage as it was. So again, because it's simply, rewards, is it? It did actually. Sorry, it had its own kind of like a bit of a falter, but not at nearly as much in percentages as the others. Only a 16% move, and I suppose overall, what are we down? Only 2 or 3% on our ranges, around that 850 mark now. $850, 847, down from a high of 880, but again, not so huge in effect, because I presume because it's the optimizer token, it's completely deflationary as far as I know. It has a fixed supply, so not suffering the same kinds of sell-off, it seems, as most of it is either staked or continuing compounding for profit. So that's a look at the Meerkat stuff, and again, if you're in any of those, probably a good time not to panic. I think a lot of people would have bought the dip, and hopefully that was the case for you. So we're gonna start another one now. Another recording going. Just checking the chat and stuff. So this is Sky token from Dark Crypto. Just to check in on it, still doing quite healthily. It's had another continued spike up. You can see that MACD on the 4 hour is looking pretty crazy. We would definitely be due a cool off soon, and it's kind of pointing downwards. If we have a look at the daily, it's probably a good spike up. You can see how young we are still here. We're not printing on the Bollinger or the MACD in the daily. But that inverted, that hammer is looking like will point back down for the moment. But I would expect at the same time it's still got strong support around that $1,000. And after that, if we were to make it towards this $1,000 range, I would say you'd be looking at further support around the 500. So still though, at the moment, growing platform, lots of good news about it. Overall, definitely going to be moving, but we'd expect a bit of downside here. If we have a look at the 1 hour just to see what's going on right at the moment, looks pretty choppy. Again, it's a reward, a revenue share token, so it's getting sold for profit. If we have a look at the, sorry, clicked the wrong one. Have a look at the trades. Overall, doesn't look like there's a huge amount of large buys and sells. Let's have a look at what's happened over $10,000. So in terms of times, there's a very healthy volume at the same time. In terms of incoming large buys, and the sells don't look too major. It's a lot of just basic profit taking. You see someone's coming out for 84k there. So again, doing healthily. It's a share token. It's probably going to be pretty bouncy, but overall, I suppose we can expect it to be moving up generally if the platform continues to do well in the coming months. And they have some good stuff on their website. Definitely go check it up. That's the darkcrypto.finance. Make sure you're on the right URL if you're looking into it. But all of their documents and Medium articles and everything are in there. Just looking at that latest spike up from that 496 range, we've gone up 141%. So looking like there'd be a bit of sell pressure there. So in the coming days, unless there's any major news events, we want to watch out for the Mad Meerkat launch pads as well. That's going to affect everything, I would say. It's obviously doing a really really hard pump, so want to be careful of. So what else have we got? Let's have a check in on Cronos. I think we are alone for the moment. So that's okay though. Keeps the nerves. So this is Cronodes, the Cronodes. Cronos.finance, I believe, is the URL. So definitely double check it if you're checking out the profit project. But again, we're seeing a real tightening up in volume, not too much buy and sell pressure. It seems that all of the excitement has really waned, which I suppose is actually a good thing for this project, being a sort of a revenue stream generating project with investments as a node project. Lower volume is normally safer for this kind of thing. So you can see that we've returned to that bottom level of its first hype wave. So it should be like you can see it almost perfectly lining up with this range of like the initial investments. So hopefully this is a bottom side for this at the moment. The only thing is we've got some shaky ground for the project. That's all moving forward now. We have to see them change things up for themselves. Don't want to pass too much comment on that, but that will definitely be your most major effect on price, not financial advice, obviously. Do your own research, look into the project. If we stretch out to the daily here, you can see, we'll have to zoom in again. You can see the volume is really, really tightened up. It still has some strong sell pressure. You can see by those pointing wicks, there's just long candles there. Long wicks, excuse me, and short candles. And you can see it's getting very small here now, the buy and sell. So that would mean that a lot of people in the project aren't taking too much profit and they're compounding their nodes or whatever it is. A lot of people who are whales in it are probably already at their 100 nodes and that in their wallet. So it doesn't seem that there's too much sell pressure going on, and the project is going to do its thing definitely to change things up and decide on new models. I know they've already cut the rewards, so that's a strong indicator of why we have so little volume at the moment. There's not many people selling to come out for their profits. So yeah, just want to be careful of course, let the project breathe and do its thing, but it's back down at those early support ranges and off its $50 high. If you hadn't looked into that too much, there's plenty to learn about it. If you go to at News Chronos on Twitter, you can find an article they really recently put out about the project, and it's all relatively encouraging. At the end of the day, it was pretty predictable for a lot of people what happened. So we just need to let it breathe and turn around at the moment and hope they do good things over there for the project. They surely will, because there's lots you can do to change the circumstances. But for now, that's Cronos. So I'm just checking on our stream stats and stuff. I think we had one at least, so that's cool. Whoever checked in, fair dues. So we're gonna check out some more stuff now. We'll have a quick look, so I can keep it for later at VVS as well. So let's start recording this one. Here's VVS Finance. Again, we had a look at it yesterday. You know the story if you're checking in here. If you're only new, look into the project. Definitely do your own research. But still settling on very low volume down here at the 2182. That's with 4 zeros because I'm not going to say them out. But again, it's worth a decimal place, 4 zeros, 5362 wrapped CRO. So the price isn't, something to concentrate on too much. Again, we seem to have settled here on the daily. The volume has really calmed down. And we've come down over 100% anyway over that course of time. So what have we got back to here? The 23rd of January, we did that huge move up 100%, and it has come all the way back down from there. So want to be careful of, check out the farming opportunities and everything there, but we seem to have settled a lot in volume. If we take a quick check on the 4 hour here and zoom it up a lot, you can see that we're just bouncing in a kind of what percentage range? 6% really over the last few days at least. Has come down a bit since I suppose the 12th, 5 days or so, down 10%. So there could be more potential downside off this, but I don't think that marks the bottom for VVS Finance. When we're on a 4 hour, it's kind of hard to look at, but you can see that we're pretty much, we shouldn't be dumping too many initial investors out of this or anything. So we don't have any provable bottom side ranges to look at. So definitely be one to be careful of. And of course, it's a reward token. So it's completely inflationary. It gets minted to reward miners of other cryptocurrencies essentially. So do your research on it, look into the project if you haven't already, but seems to be kind of hopefully becoming stable around that range. So we'll keep an eye on it the next couple of days. Hopefully don't see too much more downside, but that's VVS Finance for now. So I think you can hear my fan in the background. The computer's going pretty crazy, streaming and recording at the same time. It has seen better days. So yeah, if anyone is in the comments, definitely drop a token you can think of and you want to have a look at. I might cover this as well just because it's one I'm interested in, and we'll do a recording on this for later too. So let me start that up. So here's NESS from Dark Crypto as well. Let's have a zoom in here on the daily. We can ignore our huge wick of ICO. We're only like fresh 4 or 5 days in. So again, play this very carefully if you were considering the token at all. But the chart is so fresh for me, I don't even have my indicators again. So let's get that up here, a different computer again. Struggling. And let's get some Bollinger in this. Might at least be helpful if we go down to some sort of hourly, but you can see here that it's starting to kind of settle off of that initial pops and drops that it had during the ICO. We can ignore the initial investments at the moment, I think. Obviously, you want to be careful in case that volume did drop off. Like we still have this kind of action. I believe that this was once the token was listed on the website, or these wicks were. Certainly the contract went out early, so that was available, and then it went live on the site. And you can see here that it moved at least within a range of kind of 60%, which is pretty crazy, from 160 down to about 50 cents, 55 cents. And over that time, it seems we've kind of safely lost a bit of that volume and moved up at one stage into the 76 cents range on the 14th of March. And right now, we're sitting on 64 cents. It looks like we might be turning back down to the downside. If we go to the 1 hour, yeah, there's a lot of kind of like craziness going on with it right now, I suppose, because it's so new. But at least check out the opportunity for yourself. Look into the project, do your own research and everything. I believe this the share token for the darkness dollar swap platform. So it's going to be stablecoin swapping and minting. Essentially, I think you mint darkness US dollar, and this token NESS is used in the process. But all of that isn't, they haven't broken out yet, hasn't been too popular yet, and that. So I think they're trying to kind of start that up at the moment. So very shaky, obviously, one to be careful of. Could be going up or down in the meantime. But for now, on March 18th, at least, that's darkness dollar at six. I think it's darkness share. Excuse me. There's a darkness dollar as well, DUSD. That's darkness share at 64 cents. So we'll keep an eye on it for now. I would think, for myself personally, bit of downside again expected to anywhere to the 60 cents range would be quite normal for people dropping in and out at the moment, it seems. That seems to be what the action is. It's not a huge amount of volume after there. I'd imagine there's a lot of people waiting for announcements about the project and what's going to happen with it and see its utility come to fruition. But again, quite quiet. It's only 800k in volume. Not too bad, I think, for this platform, at least. If we took a big quick jump back over to Sky, which is like the main share token on darkness, on dark crypto.finance. We'll ignore the chart coming up in the daily like that, but you can see the volume here is 1.3 million. So obviously the NESS is still doing quite well. People must be using the platform too in order to mint darkness US dollar. They must be combining their DUSD and DAI, and you can look into that yourself and how it works, but also burning NESS, I believe, in the process. So, and they're going to have staking and things like that. So it's one to keep an eye on. I imagine once they announce those opportunities, we might see some continued upside. But for now, once it's quiet, would guess at a bit of downside down to that 60 cents range. So that's NESS, darkness share token for now. So just checking back over, haven't missed any comments, thankfully. And I think that might be mostly what we want to cover. I don't think I need to bring up anything else here in the list. If you are checking in the stream and have stayed, thank you very much. Hope it's entertaining in the background. And we should be checking in roughly the same time tomorrow. I'll have to kind of balance it. I want to see what time I do it at to try and hit everyone as best I can. Some night owls and some, maybe charts in the background for your dinner or a beer, whatever it is, or you can save them for the next day and have them with a coffee. But of course, you might have seen some price action at that stage. So we'll see what time we do this at. I don't think the morning would be ideal for myself. So we'll try and figure out somewhere in between of all of those really cool spaces. But for now, thank you very much for joining, if and when you did. And we will see you soon in the next one. Should be tomorrow.